Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So we're sitting not in my office today. There are people in the backyard that are making noise and screaming and, having fun. Unrelatable. Anyway, so instead I've had to move it in here, but the lighting situation is a little bit different. The backdrop is a little bit different. It's not a backdrop, it's just a background. You probably don't care, but I'm saying it for my benefit, okay? We are doing the April wrap up though. I will say it was a very, not necessarily like a bad reading month in terms of content, but the amount of content. Don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Just want to say I was traveling in April, I had to go to Italy for like 10 days or the travel in total took like 9 days extra, actually, I think. And then also I've had some applications to send out, which I can't talk about. But anyway, maybe I'll be able to talk about it at some point. I don't really know. And also I had to go to Copenhagen for something as well. So just hadn't really had a lot of time to read, but wanted to stay updated on both the read-alongs that we've been doing with the book club, but also a little bit of extra stuff as well. And so I finished a total of 7 books. I have tried to read Sing Me to Sleep, which I just couldn't really get into, so I haven't completely written it off, but I don't know, it just wasn't really, I couldn't get into it. And also, so Sing Me to Sleep is by Gabby Burton, by the way, but I've also been reading Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, which is a romantasy, and I'm really into that, just have not finished it yet. So other than that, we got like 7 books to talk about, and we're talking like 3 of them are romantasy. I don't consider Throne of Glass romantasy, by the way. I should not have put my books behind me because it looks like I'm turning my back on you, but anyway. But yes, I have read these books in April, so this is book 1 to 4 in Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Love this series so much. I have mentioned it many times. I also keep saying that it's very hard to summarize exactly what this series is, because if you have only read Throne of Glass, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like vastly different from what's going on in that book. Even Crown of Midnight. You gotta get past these 2 to actually get to like the good stuff. I'm not gonna say that these 2 are bad. They're just not as good as the rest of the series. So, but these are, I would say, personal opinion, fantasy with a little bit of romance subplots here and there. The first 2 definitely have more romance compared to the rest of the content in the book than the later books. I think the 3rd one only has like a little bit, to be honest, with one of the characters who's not the main character. And then there's just like, it's basically subplots. So the first 2, it does take up a lot of space if you look at the book as a whole, but for the rest, it's more like there's a lot going on in the series. So for me, it's a fantasy with romance series, despite Sarah J. Maas being a romantasy author. I also think it starts out YA, but then turns into something a little bit more new adultish as we move on from Heir of Fire. And so also the writing wise, it becomes a little bit more mature, to be honest. Like Sarah J. Maas both introduces more POVs, but also her writing style just changes a little bit. And I think she really found herself as an author in between Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire, and she's basically gotten to that point where she feels like comfortable or something. She found the style that does well for her, that works for her content. And so just don't judge the entire series on these 2 books, because that's not what this is. Like, these are 2, I love these more, but I also love these, and they're just not the same at all, okay? A lot of things happen from Crown of Midnight and moving on. They're so good. So if you're looking for like big fantasy, but like easy to read, not necessarily super high fantasy, but like I have been told that, and that's not something that I've thought about myself, to be honest, that it's not necessarily like a good series to get into if you are starting out with fantasy. It was one of the first longer fantasy series that I read, but I've also been like gaming throughout my entire life, so a lot of the terms and stuff are not completely unknown to me, if you get what I mean. So like just be aware of that maybe. But I do think it's definitely one you should read at some point if you want to get into fantasy. So, but we do follow, oh, this is not the front of the cover. If you want a quick little summary of Throne of Glass, we do follow Selena Sardothian, who is like the world's most badass not vampire. Why did I say that? She's an assassin, she's not a vampire. I don't even know where that term came from. Most badass assassin, okay? And she has been a slave in the salt mines of this world for closing on a year, I think. And so one day day she is approached by the crown prince and his guard, and their commander of the guard, I think actually his title. I can't really remember at this point. But they're like, you're coming with us back to Ardalan, which is where she has been living, where the king is as well. She's coming back with them to the castle because the king is throwing a competition, and they're bringing in a lot of like criminals and stuff, thieves, assassins, mercenaries, and other people to compete in this competition, and the winner gets to become Ardalan's assassin. So she basically, if she wins, she gets to work for the king. Mind you, Selena hates the king. Like, she cannot stand him. She might have some history with him. And so for her though, it's either stay in the mines, where people generally don't get to stay in the mines for more than half a year until they just stop breathing, if you will. But she's been there for closing in on a year, if not more than that actually. Oh right, he's captain. Kael is the captain. That's what he is. Anyway, she's been there for a long time, so she kind of knows like her only chance at freedom again is to say yes and go with them. And so she does. And a whole lot of stuff happens from there because there's a lot. Okay. It is the start of a journey. It's the start of something amazing, and I wish you all to read this. I love this series so much. It means a lot to me because it's really one of the things that got me very into reading fantasy. I had read fantasy before that, but it's like, I've always been a fantasy girl when it comes to games and movies, but reading wise, it's like one of those series that really, really got me into fantasy reading. So yes. And it's just amazing. I will say you might get a little bit annoyed with Selena now and then. She's very cocky. She's very self-assured. She has her plans. She's bad at sharing them. And she's very self-sacrificial, like just herself, not other people. So doesn't necessarily act of her own goodwill. If you will. Like, it's not always beneficial to her, the way that she treats herself and stuff. So that's a little bit of a thing with her, but it's one of the things because I got my mom to read it as well, and she loves it, by the way. And she's not a fantasy reader. She is a crime novel reader first and foremost, not fantasy, not really romance, and she loves the series. She's so into it, but she has mentioned that she has a hard time with Selena now and then because she's very cocky. Yeah, she's very cocky. But anyway, so Throne of Glass 1 to 4, and I'm finishing it this month. So we are working our way through Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn in a tandem read at the moment. And then I'll be moving straight up into Kingdom of Ash right after I'm done, which is the thick one, so it's gonna take me a while. Before we get to the other physical books, I read 2 more physical books. I also read Lord of Gold and Glory, I think it's called. Yeah, Lord of Gold and Glory by Lisette Marshall, which is a sequel to A Court of Blood and Bindings. From the series Fae Isles, which is it's a romantasy series. You can find it on KU. You can also get physical copies of the book. The first one was hugely popular, and I very much enjoyed it. I really like the magic system there is in this universe because it's like heavily reliant on colors. So I think it's like red is for damage. You have blue for... Yellow is for change, and then blue is probably for like mending, I don't, anyway. Like healing. I think. I'm a little bit unsure of the blue. I can't really fully remember, but I think it's mending. So I really like the system with that, but it's, okay. We're gonna talk a little bit about the plot first though. So we follow our girl she's been living with her parents. I can't remember if she's aware that they're not her parents. I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, that's a spoiler, but I'm mentioning it because I'm pretty sure that she is aware that they're not her actual parents. And she's been working with them. They're not very nice to her. Like, she's not having an easy time working with them. They're not, like, she knows she has magic, but they're not trying to help in any way with her controlling these magical powers that she has. And her father is a painter, so there's a lot of color around them at all times. She's also been working for a designer, again, a lot of color around them at all times, and because she's not ever getting like a chance to control her powers, she ends up ruining a lot of projects, and so they hate her for this basically, but she's not really, like, she's not getting help. One day though, this guy who's notorious around the kingdom, so he is known as the Silent Death, and he is a fae, he shows up and he sees her performing magic, and he decides that she's got to come with him because, as it turns out, there's a queen fae who's like controlling everybody, and he needs our lead girl's help to bring down the queen fae, because people in this world have had their magical powers bound, and so they can't use them, and the only way you can bring down the queen is by using magical powers on her. So when he sees her using them, he's like, there's my ticket out of this mess. Yep, I'm bringing you with me. And, you know, things happen from there. The sequel, I didn't like as much as the first one. I felt like it dragged on a little bit. She's ended up in a place, without me saying too much, she's just ended up in a place where there's a lot of like unnecessary drama with a lot of characters there that I felt just dragged on. Our lead guy as well was acting in like I get it, he has a hard time, but you're dragging it on just a little bit. For reference as well, the book is 579 pages. And the first one, I think, was around like 450 or 400 or something. Yeah, 436. So we got like a whole 140 pages more, and I can tell that they don't necessarily benefit the book. So I liked it a little bit less than the other one. Also, smut-wise, became a little bit too much at times. I read this, but that might be because I was reading it on the plane and then on the train and then on the train again, and I'm a little bit like, because I prefer to sit with my iPad when I read in public so people can't see what I'm reading. However, not because I'm reading anything bad per se, but just because I don't want people judging my book covers, you know? Like, it's my business what I read, but I'm not just like, and it's easier to transport as well. Yeah, that's probably the biggest reason. But I don't like reading smut in public. It makes me feel awkward. And I remember I basically read like 200 pages on the train ride home from Copenhagen. So like a third of the book, I was like, we gotta finish this book. We gotta finish it up. And it was like within 50 pages, there were 2 very long sequences of smut, and I'm just like, ugh, not again. So it might have been a little bit affected by that. I've learned my lesson reading Silver Flames in public. That's just not, I'm super awkward with that. You can't. Nope. No. And so like I'm constantly like looking over my shoulder to see if anybody's accidentally like skimming what I'm reading. I can't have it, you know, I can't have it. So, no, I'm very unapologetic when it comes to what I read. Like, I will very openly tell you guys if I've just been reading smut, but I don't need people to follow in public. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, other than that, it was a little bit long drawn at times. I just got a little bit tired of the place that she's in. Like, I need more action. So it did give me some of that at, I think, like the 60th percent point. And then moving onwards, also because we get a little bit more information on her and her background and her past and other stuff. So that's nice, but a little bit long drawn at times as well. And then lastly, this is actually weird because I usually read like 10 books from 10 different series, so I'll be sitting here for a long while, and I feel like this video is so short because I've just been sticking to the Throne of Glass. But I also finished The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It was my second read of this. I love this book so much. 5 stars for me. I also read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Not quite 5 stars. I think it's more like a 4. But let's talk about them a little bit. Let's talk about them. So starting out with the plot. Serpent and the Wings of Night. If you like romantasy, you gotta check out Carissa Broadbent, okay? You have to. You are hereby obligated to check out Carissa Broadbent, okay? Because I told you so. You're welcome. Anyway, in this book we follow Oriah, who is sort of the daughter of the Vampire King. I say sort of because, is she? I mean, she knows that she's a human, she's living among vampires, so she's aware that the Vampire King can't be her father. Because, you know, he's a vampire, she's a human. But she's been trained throughout her life to defend herself because it's very dangerous for a human to live among vampires. Constant threats to her life, like constant. And it's been like that ever since she arrived at the castle, or was taken there, I should say. And so she's learned to defend herself, especially with knives. She has a little bit of magic as well. And so it's tiring though, being this weak human among vampires. And so when there is this event going on, that is a very rare event that happens in this world. It's called the Kajari. She decides that she wants to participate because if you win the Kajari, you get a favor from one of the gods. In this case, it's Onyxia. So she gets a favor, like a gift from Onyxia, and she wants to use it to become so powerful that she's not threatened by vampires around her at all times anymore. But it's a very, very dangerous competition, and basically only one can come out alive at the end. And so, you know, you need allies, you need someone to watch your back, you can't go through it alone, especially not as a human. There's also a couple of the trials where you actually need an ally. And so she's approached one day by this guy called Rain, and he's very taken with her. She's very hesitant to say yes when he asks if she wants to team up with him, and also his friend who's called Misha. But she ends up saying yes, hesitantly so. And so the two of them start this ally ship, and this ship might turn into something a little bit more than just allies, you know? But that's also like throwing in, like, causing some issues because only one of them can survive at the end, and her father, the vampire king, is so disapproving of this ally ship as well. So, you know, but yeah, who survives at the end, no one will know. ... But there's a sequel, just want to say. So you can do the math if you want to. So the first book was, like, pace-wise, so good. It was so good. The action was not drawn out, it was not cut short, it was just pacing wise so good. And I loved the slow burn romance between the two characters, them slowly like becoming friends as well. It's very much an enemies to lovers with slow burn on top of it, reluctant allies as well. We have a badass stabby lead girl, so if that's your thing, like if you like Selena Sardothian, you most definitely will like Oriah. Yes, Oriah. Her other lead character is called Tasana, and sometimes I kind of mess them up a little bit. I love Oriah though. Oriah is great. This, pacing wise, I feel like used up a little bit too many pages. It could have been shorter. It didn't need to be, how much is it, 600 pages? Yeah, 615. It didn't need to be that long. We're back at like, this is the thing with romances as well, and you see this a lot, so I don't really feel like this is a spoiler. But when you have an enemies to lovers in the first book, it's often that the author will do something to cause, like, we need another enemies to lovers situation. And I got a little bit tired of it because it was just a little bit too, like you're just being stubborn. Just stop it. We all know where it's going, okay? A little bit repetitive at times as well. Yeah, I think that's the best I can say, to be honest. So it wasn't necessarily disappointing because I think the first book was just very, very high standards. So I'm not gonna sit here and like expect all books to be like that. So it wasn't disappointing, but just not as good as the first one. And a little bit like unnecessarily long at times as well. I would definitely reread this at some point again though. Which would be my third reread of, no, my second reread, but my third read of The Serpent and the Wings of Night. But it's such a good book. I need to reread Daughter of No Worlds, I think, before I move on with that series, but it's another one of Carissa Broadbent's series, and it's so good. It's so good. So definitely an author to watch if you like romantasy. I will be keeping a steady eye on what she does. I think she just released another book in this series as well. This is technically, if you want to know, technically a duology, but it does continue from another character's point of view. I'm not gonna say who, I do know who, but because you are introduced to them in this series, but that's gonna be a duology, and then after that, as far as I know, there's gonna be another duology with other characters also from this universe. So there's 6 books, but 3 duologies within this universe, and I'm very curious to see where that one's gonna go as well. So, but yeah, that was the wrap up. Very short. I feel like I've only been sitting here for like half an hour. Super odd. Anyway, I don't even know. I think the next one is also going to be very short because I've just not had a lot of time to read. But I'm trying to rectify that, so wish me good luck. But, because I love to sit here and talk about books with you guys. I want to have something to talk about, you know? But choosing some very, very thick books, like Empire of the Damned is like 750 pages. That tandem read is 1300. What am I doing? what am I doing? But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up. If you have read any of the books, let me know your thoughts on them down below. It's okay if it's positive or negative. I would just love to hear you out. If you have any questions regarding any of the books, as well, feel free to ask them down below too. And if you want to go check them out, I will be leaving links to them in the description box as well, because I know that my summaries get a little bit chaotic at times. I'm not necessarily the best at explaining things either. I'm fully aware. I'm never going to be a teacher. I'm content with it. It's fine. So I'll be leaving links to you in the description box. Feel free to use them if you want to. But that is all I got for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. However, I'm going to leave you to it now. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.